Hi everyone, I'm Christine Keller, owner and jewelry designer at Chrizart Creations. I have been making jewelry for over 8 years, actually since 2012, full-time. I made jewelry before that, but I went full-time with it in 2012. So today I want to show you a little bit about how I go about making some of my jewelry. I do want you to know that you can find my work online at chrizart.com, CHRIZART.com. And I'm going to show you how I cut out the background pieces on some of my earrings, and actually how I do the texturing of the metal and how I cut out pieces and also pressing a piece. This is a 20-ton Potter press. I saved for a good long time to get this piece because it does do a lot of work for me, and it makes it a lot easier on these hands of mine, so I'm not going to be fighting with carpal tunnel light later down the road because of what this does save me. So today I'm going to show you how I cut out my earring back. I'm going to use this piece here, which is called a pancake die. I have a lot of these in different shapes that I can use to cut out all different kind of things, from anywhere from flowers to just about anything. There's too many to talk about right now, but this is the shape I'm going to be using today. And like I said, it is called a pancake die. This is the metal that I'm going to start with. This is a sheet of copper. You have to be very careful because sometimes the edges are sharp. And what I will do is I will slide this metal into the pancake die. And I cannot take it below these two little lines here, because if I do that, it gets stuck in here. And believe you me, that's not a good thing. So I'm going to turn on my press. Be aware that when I turn this on, it's going to sound loud on the phone, but it's really not that loud in the studio. As you see, this is called a platen here. This is removable. It is held up there by very strong magnets. And these are my spacer bars, which I can remove and take out if I need to have a bigger piece in here. So I'm going to set this piece in here, and I have to make sure that this whole piece of the design is underneath this platen. So I pull the handle and the thing goes up. You'll see the gap closing. Now when it cuts, you're going to hear a pop. Listen for it. There you go. That way you know it's cut through the metal. So then I let the press go down. I'm going to take it all the way down because I'm going to need more space in here for the next part of the design and what I'm going to be doing next. So as you see, it's getting a bigger and bigger space here. Soon it will be down at the bottom where this spring is totally relaxed, which is what I'm shooting for at this point. Okay, I'm going to turn that off for a minute. I'm going to show you what this looks like coming out of the press. This is how the piece is. I can usually wiggle that. That will come off. The piece is still stuck in here. So what I'll do is I'll take my rawhide hammer, which does not mark metal, just give it a few taps and it falls right out. And this is what the piece looks like. Now I still have to take a file and sand this on the edges because the edges are still sharp. So I still have handwork to do on this. So that's going to need to be sanded before it goes too much farther. Right now, I'm going to show you what I want to put on that. I'm going to make a piece, a flower. And I'm going to use this thing called an impression die. Now, I have a bunch of these impression dies that I have bought through the years. And I will tell you, the impression dies are really kind of cool. Most of these are based on old patterns and the way they used to make jewelry. It's not the way the big companies make jewelry now. It is the way they used to do it in the past. They would press their pieces into the metal and pop it out. Right now, the only people that do that are artists who are doing their jewelry by hand because it is more time consuming. So what I'm going to do is I have to take this platen off of here, and I attach it to the side of my toolbox because it is magnets. And I need to put this piece up, which is called a pusher. As you can see, the pusher fits pretty well, perfectly on top of that impression die so that it'll push the metal down into that design. I'm going to put it, it's also got a magnet, I'm going to put it right in the middle of the press here so it has full power. This is going to slide underneath here. Now here's my piece of metal. It's a piece of brass that I already have all cut out and ready to go. I did that beforehand. I set that over the design. Now if I just pressed it like this, it's flat on flat and it will not push the metal down into that design. So what I need to do is add some little pieces of urethane that are cut up. I have these in all different little sizes. And what I do is I throw them on top of that because that forces the metal to go down into that hole. Try to keep that piece of metal centered over the design, and the impression die underneath that. I'm going to turn on the press again. And what I do is I bring the press up. It squishes the urethane down. Now I can't do this just once. I have to take it down. We've got to adjust the urethane again. We've got to press it again, turning the impression die a little bit. I'm going to do this again. Now because this is small, a smaller piece, I'm going to do this 4 times. If I had a bigger design and I had more area that I needed to get the metal impressed upon, I would be taking it off after this 4th press and taking it over to the bench and doing what I call annealing, which is heat treating the metal so that it'll bend more easily and the design will go into the pattern and you'll get more of a, you'll pick up more of the design. As you can see, this is what it looks like at this point. I got it a little crooked here, that's okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. See how easy it falls out? This is what the design looks like. All right, and from this point on, I have to take it over to my bench and we're going to be cutting it out. Hi, I'm back. I'm done sawing as you saw. Isn't that funny? Sawing as you saw. All right, and this is the piece I had cut out earlier. I already took a file to it and sanded off the edges. Now my next thing that I need to do, sorry, I need to get my hammer out from here, is I'm going to take a hammer and I'm going to stamp the back of the piece just so you can see that it has my maker's mark on it, showing you that I did it. Now I'm going to try to point it down here. This is one of my maker's mark stamps. I have this in 2 sizes. It's kind of hard to see, I know, but it has a CPK with a star on it because I wanted the star because my husband is into astro imaging. I simply put this on the back of the piece, hit it a few times, and then my stamp is into the piece. From here, I am going to go and put a pattern on the front of this. I'm going to use something that's this looks a little bit rusty, but that doesn't affect the design at all. It's called a pattern plate. I have several of these in different styles so that I can transfer the pattern that is on here onto the metal. And I do that by putting it through my rolling mill. So if you want to see that, come along with me. We're going to go over there and I'm going to set it up and I will show you how I get the design onto this piece of metal. This is my rolling mill. This is another piece of equipment that I have purchased to help make my jewelry business easier on my hands. When you look at homemade jewelry or artisan created jewelry, I don't want to say homemade because there's a lot of craft that goes into it. When you're looking at that kind of piece and that kind of work, you need to understand all the backstory that goes into it. I showed you my press in the other room, talked about the impression dies and the pancake dies. Just those machines and this machine alone is several $1,000s. It's more than that. We won't get into that because it's a little scary when I start adding up all the money. However, I just want you to know that when when you are buying a piece of artisan made jewelry, you have all this backstory that's going into it. You have all the years that I've learned how to do this. You have the equipment that I am using. I want to show you how the rolling mill works. The piece of metal will go in here on what we call a pattern plate, which I will show you in a second. And the pattern plate will impress that design onto the piece of metal. The trick here is to get the roller blades adjusted right so that it's has enough pressure on it to transfer the pattern from the plate to the metal, but not so much pressure that what it's doing is distorting the metal. So I do have it adjusted here, and while I hold this, I'm going to try to roll this through. As you see, it's through now. This is what it looks like. It does put a slight curvature into the metal when you put it through there and put the pressure on. This is what the piece looks like when it's done. See how the pattern has transferred over? My mark is still in the back. Pattern is now on the metal. Okay, now I'm going to attach the design, the little flower, to the piece of copper. Now I already cleaned these quite a bit, but just because when your finger oils are on it, you want to make sure it's completely clean, because if you don't, the solder won't flow right. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit of one of these little green scrubbies here, and I'm going to clean off the front a little bit, and then I'm going to spray it with this as Prips. I spray it, which is called a flux. So now it's kind of wet. So that's going to lay down on my block. And then I'm going to adjust it down so you can see the block. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my pieces of solder. And I'm going to place them where I want them onto the metal. Like that. Then I'm going to take my flower, which I'm also going to clean the edges off. Okay. And I'm going to set that where I want it on the design here. Now I already sanded around the edges of the flower so that their edges would not be sharp. I placed the design in the center of the piece where I want it. So the next thing is to take my torch. You're going to hear a pop. Come on. There we go. And adjust it down just a little bit. Now the trick here is to get the solder to flow around the whole piece of the flower. So I go in circles around it because solder follows heat. So hopefully when it starts to melt, it will come around to the edges of the flower. I'm going to press this down, make sure it's all in contact with the metal. Okay, it looks like it went. I can see some solder that's on the edges. So we let it cool there just a second because we don't want to stress the metal as I throw it into the quench, which is just basically water over here in a pot, and then I put it into my pickle to get it cleaned up. You'll hear it sizzle. Isn't that cool? I like that. Okay, and then I'll show you later after I get it cleaned up what that looks like. Hi, I'm back. I wanted to show you the finished pieces. It's all polished up. I'm going to be putting a hole through the top here, and then I will hang the earring pieces on it. It's the second one. So I showed you doing one. I have to do two and have a pair of earrings, so you can imagine the work that is. I also work with silver. So this is silver with a copper bee on it that's got a kind of a gold tint to it at the moment. I am going to put some patina on this yet so that the pattern in the silver shows up. I'm also going to do that on the flower earring so that you'll be able to see this pattern. It'll stand out a whole lot better. So see, even though I'm this far, I'm still not finished because like I said, I have to put the patina on, then I'll have to clean up the back and I'll have to sand off some on the front so that the high spots are showing and the patina stays down into the pattern so that it pops. And then I will also put a hole through here, and then I have to attach an ear wire, which I am making the ear wires for these out of silver. So I take the silver, I make the ear wire. I actually have to use heat to ball up the end. It makes a wire like this. Let me show you. Okay, like this with a ball on the end. I put it on the torch and hold the torch here, and it balls up the silver. Then I put it in my tumbler to tumble them for probably an hour and a half or so. It polishes them up, and it also work hardens them so that this isn't so soft when you put it through your ear. It's just bending all over. So I do have to bend the ear wire to go into the earrings yet, and before they'll be finished. So I also have done a pair of earrings of these, which is music notes with the silver. I'm also going to put the patina on here. So I do a lot of things because I do work with silver, I work with copper, I work with brass, and I work with aluminum. I also do all my own enamelings that I do in my design. So right now I've been working on enameling pendants that I have. Here's one that I've finished. It's very bright. It's got enameling pieces up the side. So it's going to be like that. Every one of these links, every one of these I have made. I have bent, cut, sanded so that I could make the pattern for the chain. So I just want you to know all my jewelry is hand done. Here is another pendant I've been working on. So I made the bail for this, which is a little bit different than the other. And again, I made every piece of this chain. So every piece of the jewelry that I'm doing, I've made the enameling. I've cut out the copper here. I've cut out this hole. I've done sanding on it. I put the pattern onto the metal. Then I put the bail on. Then I make the chain. I've done a lot of different things. My earrings are the same way when I'm using the enameling for the earrings. I'm cutting out the copper pieces first. Then I'm sanding them. Then I'm shaping them. Then I'm putting them on the kiln. So every piece of jewelry I make is a step-by-step process. I love what I do. I'm a very creative person as far as if I don't create, I go a little bonkers. So I have to create. So therefore I sell because I end up with too many things. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video of me showing you different things that I do. I also wire wrap if you know my jewelry at all. These are just some enameling pieces that I've done recently that I'm going to be turning into bracelets and into other pieces of jewelry. This one is a piece that I've got ready to go. I've got to finish the chain. It's one of my enameling pieces. As you can see, I made the background too, put the pattern on the metal, formed the bail and made it. Being an artist is a fun thing. It's something I enjoy. It's something that it's a part of who I am because it is a very creative process. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you go to my website and check out my work there. Again, it is chrizart.com, CHRIZART.com, chrizart.com. It's a play on my name, Christine Keller, so I use Chrizart. And that is my website. So I hope to see you there, and I'll talk to you some more next time. Bye.